YouTube channel near you.
Hey everybody, how we doing tonight? I am back for another round, Paranormal Encrypted Rabbit Holes. First things first, as always, audio check, listening audience, people in our live chat tonight, let me know if you can hear me so we can make sure the audio is working well. I see Griff in the audience tonight. Hey Griff, how you doing? First and only one to comment on me. Hope you've had a fantastic couple of weeks. Wait for a few more people to join before we start cranking stuff out here. Sounding good? All right, thanks, Griff. Appreciate it. I always want to make sure. I have had a couple of those shows where my sound wasn't working that well. I'm having a little connectivity issue tonight. We just set up a new Wi-Fi here at the house in Florida. And I don't know if I'm just too far away from it or kind of what's going on. I'm going to have to experiment with it a little bit. But I am using my mobile hotspot off my phone. So I should have enough there to be able to run us through here. I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's going to join us later listening in. We have a worldwide audience. And they don't always get to join us on the live show, but we always appreciate them. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Just want to give a quick update. I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I finally was able to get my advanced treatment consultation for my heart at University of Kentucky, Lexington at the Cardiology Center. So I was up at Kentucky doing that, as well as spending Easter with Jennifer and her family. Had a great time with that. So things are moving forward. Essentially, I am going to be moving forward with testing to see if I am a good candidate for what they call an LVAD, which is basically a device they would install to pump for my heart, or if I'm a better candidate for a heart transplant. So I've got my instructions of things to work on, and we're going to start setting up the testing and go through the insurances and all that kind of stuff to see what we can do. So that is where we're at with that. Jennifer had a great checkup on her eye with her cornea transplant. Things are going well there. Removed another stitch. Apparently it's a very slow process for removing stitches from the cornea, because every time you remove one, it kind of shifts the cornea around a little bit, and that's how he knows which stitch to pull, but how he kind of wants it to move a little bit as they're getting it to tighten up around the eye. So it's actually kind of fascinating. If anybody else joining us live tonight, we got a few people out there. Give a shout out so we know who's there. Welcome, welcome. Tonight we're going to be doing kind of a what's in the news. Been working with Grizzly on getting a few episodes set up here. So this is one I was going to do a couple weeks ago when it first popped up. But the pyramids, there is this big thing hitting on Facebook about a big discovery under the pyramids. Supposedly all these chambers and things are being found. Oh, excuse me. I'm still recovering from my traveling. And so we're going to get into that tonight, see what I dug up. Griff, first trip to the chiropractor today. Fantastic. Is it your first trip ever? Back in the day, I used to go to a chiropractor quite frequently, and I enjoyed it. I keep saying I'm going to start up again, but things have been too hectic. Always love a good chiropractor. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about this. So, in the news, vast underground city found under the pyramids. Now, I will say for this show, there is a lot of slides because this is all new research for me. And so I got a lot of stuff just documented on the slides because this is not things I have committed to memory. So I do apologize if that's boring to you. I threw some pictures in there to kind of liven it up a little bit, but I will be relying kind of heavily on my slides tonight. So please feel free to throw questions into the chat, bring up some discussion points, because if I don't know the answer and we don't have them here, then I can look them up for later as well. And that's always fantastic. I love doing the research on it. So let's go ahead and get started. So how did this all come about? First started popping up on Facebook. The earliest one I could find was March 22nd on a Facebook page called Trips in Egypt. And it was entitled Discovery of Vast Underground Complex Beneath the Giza Pyramids. A new study is shaking up the archaeological world. Researchers from the University of Pisa and the University of Strathclyde have used advanced synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, tomography combined with satellite data and seismic readings to scan beneath the pyramids of Giza. Their findings: a massive underground network stretching over 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles below the pyramids. Here is a picture attached to that, supposedly of what they found on the seismographs, or the SAR readings, I should say. Key findings, so kind of a summarization: 8 vertical shafts, each over 2,100 feet or 648 meters deep. Spiral pathways are likely access points circling these shafts. 2 giant cubic chambers, roughly 80 meters per side. 5 multi-level structures interconnected by precise geometric passageways. These structures were detected under all 3 pyramids: Khufu, the Great Pyramid, Khafre, and Menkaure. Could this challenge our long-held views about the pyramid's purpose? Here's another, obviously, computer rendition of what they possibly could have found by the descriptions. Again, from the Facebook page, not one of my own design. The debate: excitement versus skepticism. While many are buzzing with excitement, some experts are cautious. Radar specialist Professor Lawrence Conyers from the University of Denver doubts that current ground-penetrating radar can reach these depths. Well, that's okay, because they weren't using GPR. So that's kind of a moot point. Not yet peer-reviewed. Independent verification is still pending, keeping the debate alive. And why it matters. Again, this is all from that Facebook page, Egypt Trips. If confirmed, this could reshape our understanding of pyramid construction and purpose, possibly hinting at uses beyond the royal tombs. Alternative theories, including energy harnessing, a la Tesla and Christopher Dunn, and even links to pre-flood or extraterrestrial civilizations, are already sparking discussions. The next steps: the research team is pushing for targeted excavations, although getting the green light from Egyptian authorities could be challenging, given the controversial nature of the findings. The full report is on its way for peer review, with more updates expected through 2025. I like that note about how it could be challenging given the controversial nature. The Egyptian authorities, they have a specific branch. I don't know if it's a government branch, but there's a specific office that is in charge of dealing with all the archaeological and antiquity dealings in Egypt. And they are notorious for not allowing any outsiders in. And that's created a lot of controversy and conspiracy theories as well. And this is a well-known thing for anybody that studied ancient history, alternate history, especially in that area, that the Egyptian authorities are very, very stringent on who they allow to just dig up their stuff. Another Facebook page, the Egyptian Kemet, on March 24th. There's a lot of Facebook pages out there, guys, so I just grabbed a couple that seem to kind of explain the basics of what we were talking about here. I'm sure there was more, lots of pictures, lots of different stuff going on. But these were the two that I found that really kind of had everything with it. Excuse me. The Mystery Beneath the Pyramids, a discovery that changes everything. What truly lies beneath the pyramids of Giza? New findings are shaking the very foundations of what we thought we knew about history and raising profound questions. An international research team led by Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi, University of Strathclyde, has made a groundbreaking discovery using cutting-edge technology. So here we actually have the leaders of the team. So that'll give us something to look at. Employing synthetic aperture radar, again, SAR, and an innovative software that translates radar signals into sound-like vibrations, they uncovered an underground network that has left even seasoned archaeologists speechless. At a depth of 648 meters beneath the Giza Plateau, the researchers detected 8 massive spiral-shaped shafts leading to 2 colossal cubic structures, each 80 meters wide and connected by a system stretching over 2 kilometers beneath all 3 pyramids. And here's another artist rendition of what that sounds like. That one's a little more interesting. In addition, the team discovered 5 identical structures near the base of the Pyramid of Khafre, each featuring 5 levels and slanted ceilings. These are not natural formations, Malanga asserts. Even more astonishing, as early as 2022, a study published on ARXIV, I'm sure that's some kind of website specifically for academic papers, suggested the presence of hidden chambers within the Great Pyramid, rooms that no one has ever entered. Well, that's kind of a given. The archaeologists have long admitted there's still many portions inside the pyramids that haven't been discovered because of the way the shafts are and just what they have access to. If these findings are confirmed, they could mark the most significant archaeological discovery of our time. Okay. Excuse me. I'm still recovering. I drove about 15 hours on Tuesday, and I am just still recovering from that. Not only would they redefine our understandings of ancient construction techniques, they might also provide evidence of a deliberately concealed past. And there is another interesting picture there, which just looks like these shafts running straight down. I find it interesting that given the description, we have so many different ideas, artist renderings of what this could look like. So let's dig a little deeper into these. The information we were given was an international research team led by Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi, University of Strathclyde. So the first thing I wanted to do is find out who these gentlemen were and what we could find out about them and their credentials and everything. So Corrado Malanga, or Malanja, I'm not really sure, actually has his own website called the Corrado Malanja Experience. And so I pulled the biography off of there and I went through for the pertinent parts, found out some very interesting information. He was born in La Spezia in 1951. He has worked as a researcher at the Chair of Organic Chemistry in the Department of Chemistry and Industrial Chemistry, part of the Faculty of Mathematical, Physical, and Natural Sciences of the University of Pisa since 1983. He is also the author of various articles published in international scientific journals. So the first thing we find out is this is a real guy, this is legit, and he is a scientist. But it seems to be his specialty is in chemistry. So I'm not really sure why he was involved with this project, it doesn't really specify, but we'll find out a little more about him that might answer. Parallel to this work, he developed an interest in UFO theories and collaborated with the National Ufology Center until he became the head of a technical scientific committee within this organization. A series of disagreements, in particular regarding evaluation of the phenomenon of alien abduction, although this was not the sole cause, led Malanga to leave the National Ufology Center in 2000. So this guy apparently not only is a bona fide chemist and chemistry science guy, but he also did a lot of work in UFOs over in Europe. So maybe that's why this is not blown up the way it should have, or maybe that led to his interest, the ancient aliens thing, with the Egypt project. Subsequently, Malanga's theories influenced the Tuscan Stargate group and other Stargate groups based in other regions in Italy, Friuli, Lombardy, and Lazio in particular, which in 2008 joined to form the CSI, the Italian Stargate Organization. But Malanga has not been a formal part of the Stargate groups in the CSI since December 1st of 2009. So it sounds like he ended up with an academic interest in ufology and alien abduction and kind of went that way, but has been distancing himself, at least from particular groups, if not the whole subject, since about 2009. He is currently employed at the Department of Chemistry and Industrial Chemistry at the University of Pisa, where he's been a researcher since 1987 and author of numerous scientific publications. It goes on to tell you what your research is. Basically, just a lot of organic chemistry stuff he goes into. Don't need to get into all of that. He's also a teacher. His graduates have always distinguished themselves at the graduation exam and never achieved less than full marks, having completed experimental thesis of at least 2 years of continuous work. Dr. Malanga is one of the Italian researchers who has held most courses at a European level. Worthy of note are his courses on Organic Chemistry 1 and 2 and 3, Organic Chemistry 2 Laboratory, Organoelement Compound Chemistry, and Eco-Sustainable Organic Chemistry, as well as Graduate Chemistry, Industrial Chemistry, Environmental Chemistry, and Biological Sciences. So this guy has his chops. He is currently responsible for Organic Chemistry 1, the graduate course in Industrial Chemistry with Environmental Specialization, and the master's degree course in Organic Eco-Sustainable Chemistry. All right, so this guy's a bona fide scientist, definitely knows what's going on. A little loose on his association with this project as the why, but I'm guessing it has to do with the ancient aliens thing, given his proclivity to studying the UFO topic. Curtis W., welcome, buddy. Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. We got a few other people watching. Please feel free to comment in the chat. Let's get it going. Ask me some questions. Let's join in the conversation. All right, next we have Filippo Biondi. So this is the other guy that headed up the research project. Filippo was born in L'Aquila, Italy in 1974. He received the BS degree. I always find that amusing, a BS degree in information engineering and the MS degree in telecommunication engineering and from Salento University of Italy in 2009 and 2011 respectively, and his PhD degree in telecommunication engineering from the University of L'Aquila in 2015. His research interests include the development of signal processing and statistical signal processing techniques on radar equipment. In particular, he is working on synthetic aperture radar. There it is, the SAR. Apparently, he was one of the main developers of the technology. Interferometry, SAR polarimetry, multi-chromatic analysis and tomography, and also using, I can't tell because my slide thing is there, convex approach. I gotta remember that. I have this little arrow thing on my side you guys can't see that helps me go through the slides that covers up that bottom. Good to know. From April of 2010 to April 2011, he was a guest scientist for the Nation Research Council in Italy and the Italian Space Agency, the Geodesy Space Center in Italy. He is currently associate editor of the IEEE Transactions on Geoscience and Remote Sensing. So he's the main guy behind it as far as the technology, the SAR, why they were using SAR, they were testing it out. So he's the main guy behind that. And apparently the other guy was his co-author of the project, you would say. So then I started looking for articles to find out more than just some Facebook posts, right? Lori Gibbs, thank you for joining us. Just throwing this out there, should we do that? It is someone's grave, just like the Titanic. I'm very interested in what the researchers see, but can you and should you? That's a very good point. The thing is, there's a lot of controversy as if the Great Pyramids were even tombs to begin with. Traditionally, that's what they say they are. But if you really look at the burial processes, like the Valley of the Kings, we know like where King Tut was found and all them, those weren't pyramids. So there is definitely some controversy as if they were actually burial chambers, burial rooms, or they had a different purpose, which is kind of where the alternate history concepts come from, which is something these guys talk about a little bit later on. I think that's where millennia comes into this. So here's the website I found, and it seemed to be where this all started. This seemed to be the article, the post, the blog spot, whatever you want to call it, that started this whole current conversation. In the research, this guy's name popped up several times as kind of the progenitor of the information. So I tracked down the information. Here is the link, if you are technically not a link. The website, if you want to, you can pause it here, copy it down, however you want to do it. Ask me for it, and I'll send it to you. That is the progenitor of all the stuff blowing up on Facebook, from what I could tell. Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Briandi, involved in radar and remote sensing search with the University of Strathclyde, published peer-reviewed research in 2022 via MDPI entitled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography Reveals Details of Undiscovered High-Resolution Structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And I got that highlighted because that was something that we're going to look at. I found it. We're going to check it out. This was the first mention, the only mention of where this information is coming from. Lori, it is controversial, but there are some found King Tut where they are digging for, and what is being found that will benefit us thousands of years later. Yeah, I understand. The only thing that really benefits us is knowledge of the past. And I'm a big believer in that, but I get exactly what you're saying. It really doesn't provide us anything looking forward. There's no new technology there or anything that we can actually use. So I get what you're saying, Lori. Lori, send me a link. Lori, do I have you on Facebook? If I do, DM me so I have a direct contact for you. I can't send links really through here very well because I don't have all that pulled up. Or you can send me an email, Tennessee TN Sasquatch21@gmail, and I can send it to you through there as well. Thank you. Again, this is reading that article. Their research was conducted using SAR data, synthetic aperture radar, which as we know Filippo developed, along with proprietary software developed by Filippo Biondi that transforms their radar signals into phononic information, which allows for the detection of millimetric vibrations. This cutting-edge technology is capable of revealing underground structures invisible to traditional methods and revealed internal structures never seen before. So essentially what this technology did is it uses radar, right? So sound waves, and it bounces around in there, and then it comes back and interprets it just like sonar. But it doesn't use, like ground penetrating radar uses like shotgun shells. They use compression waves, what's the word I'm looking for? Like percussion waves, and this uses different types of waves. And then the technology that they wrote reinterprets it into images based off the vibrations, and it can detect very, very small differences in the vibrations, and that's how it comes up with the pictures. Having established their expertise in using SAR to explore pyramid structures non-invasively, a recent press release on their current project was released last Saturday. This March 15th press release summarized the key findings in the team's research of the second largest pyramid of the Giza Plateau, known as the Khafre Pyramid, and what they found was astonishing. I could find absolutely nothing about this press release. I looked for quite some time in a few different ways. I just could find nothing on a press release about this. So I don't know if it wasn't available to American news outlets. I even looked into like Italian and translate. I couldn't find anything on this press release. So I have nothing on that. The analysis of dozens of tomographic SAR images obtained from the different angles enabled the 3D reconstruction of inside the pyramid and deep beneath the surface of the plateau. Near the base of the pyramid, 5 identical structures are seen, connected by geometric pathways. Each side of these are 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. Below these 5 structures are 8 cylindrical structures, which appear to be vertical walls, hollow inside, and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. These 8 vertically aligned cylindrical structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters, where they all merge into 2 large cubic structures measuring approximately 80 meters wide per side. The entire structure extends approximately 2 kilometers beneath the surface and extends beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex. And again, there's that picture again of kind of what they were looking at. Mainstream Egyptology tells us that the Giza pyramids were tombs for pharaohs, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, and that they were built around 2500 BC using ramps, sledges, and levers. But the redundant mathematics in their construction, which includes pi, the golden ratio, and the speed of light, along with the testimony of today's expert architects, suggest that this history does not hold up. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent star data shows what appears to be a mechanical or functional system. This has been hypothesized in the past. Nikola Tesla believes that the pyramid could harness Earth's natural frequencies. This arguably inspired his experiments in wireless energy transmission and scalar waves. In the Giza power plant, Christopher Dunn argued that the Great Pyramid was a power-generating machine using resonant and acoustic forces to convert mechanical stress into electricity. This was a theory that I'm kind of fond of. I can't say I necessarily believe it one over another, but that theory is one that I have kind of leaned towards as a likely scenario here, using it as a power plant. I've heard a couple different ways. There was a gold cap on top. They used chemical reactions to kind of get the vibrations. Well, it's all kinds of stuff like that. So it does make sense to me from what I have read that could be a possibility. In the Giza Death Star, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a WMD using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics. So they're saying that the energy was harnessed to do damage or for protection. We're getting into a big area of supposition and just what this guy thinks. So I just want to clarify that. This is not necessarily my thoughts on it, but this is, again, from that article. The cylindrical wells could be conduits for energy or sound waves, and the cubic structures might serve as energy storage or stabilization units, akin to components in a large-scale weapon or generator. And the detection of vibrations in the pyramid's internal structures reflects all of these ideas. The CAFR project hopes to plan an excavation in order to discover more about this underground structure, but history shows us this will be very difficult to get approval for, just like we talked about before. Lori, let me see what we got going on here, Lori. It does hold up. It is there, and also many biblical references. This is true. You know, there's some people, and I've heard this theory a few times, and I think there's enough to back it up to make it plausible, is that the pyramids, while they were not constructed for the purpose, they were used for the storage of the grains and goods that Joseph oversaw when we talk about Joseph in Egypt in the biblical times, where there was the great famine in the land, and so they stored up all the grains and products that they could. And the idea is that these pyramids were used for that purpose. And there's different evidences that they cite for that. It's some fun to look up if you're into that kind of thing. But that is one biblical theory that holds up. Griffin, well, the government did confiscate all of Tesla's research. Yes, they did. Tesla was the most intelligent weirdo we have had, and he seemed to know all. He did not know all, but he definitely was thinking on a different path. And I believe that's very important. When we all start thinking in the same road, we get ruts. And we get stuck in these ruts and we think that all there is. I'm a big proponent of thinking in different terms. And that's where I believe the ancient technology was, is it wasn't Newtonian science, it wasn't Einsteinian theory. It was vibrational theory and dealing with frequencies and vibration and stuff more than dealing with current electrical powers and forces, magnetic stuff like that. I think it was a whole different mindset, and they were able to harness that to do what they needed to do. Griff, any power source of energy can be used for good or evil. That is absolutely correct. And Lori Gibbs, how were these ancient people able to do that and have that knowledge? Because I don't believe ancients were stupid. I just believe they had different ways of thinking, different ideas, different lives, different things that inspired them. Definitely as intelligent as us, if not more. Yeah, so, all right. So what I pulled up, this is kind of our last segment here. We've found out what Facebook was saying, social media. We always know we got to take that with a grain of salt. Found a couple articles, kind of tracked down who these people were, got the background on them, found what seemed to be the originating article that caused those Facebook posts, and that gave us the name of the research paper that these guys put out. Interestingly enough, this was put out in 2022. So 3 years ago, this was published and peer-reviewed. So again, here I have the website up at mdpi.com, and we'll go through. I did not bring the whole paper down. There was 40 pages, and a lot of it was all highly technical stuff. A lot of it I didn't understand. as far as how they worded it, but I got the basics understanding of it, just not all the technical. They had all kinds of formulas of how this worked and that worked and how they got their information and stuff. So didn't put that in there. So what I did do is grab like the abstract and the conclusion. So those are usually kind of, the abstract tells us the concept of the paper, where we're going to go. The conclusion tells us where we went and kind of what everything summed up. So the name of the paper is Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography Reveals Details of Undiscovered High-Resolution Internal Structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza by Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga. I want to point out the title specifically talks about the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Kind of has all the specifics: Department of Electronic Electrical Engineering, University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, which is where Filippo is from, Department of Chemistry, Industrial Chemistry, University of Pisa, which is where Malanga is from. The author to whom correspondence should be addressed with an address, Italy, so that'd be Filippo. And these authors contribute equally to the work. All the kind of technical stuff that they have to put in when putting these peer-reviewed papers together. The submission was originally received August 30th of 2022, revised on September 28th, accepted on October 12th, and finally fully published on October 19th. The abstract. A problem with the synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, is that due to the poor penetrating action of electromagnetic waves inside solid bodies, the capability to observe inside distributed targets is precluded. Under these conditions, imaging action is provided only on the surface of distributed targets. The present work describes an imaging method based on the analysis of micromovements in the Khnum-Khufu pyramid, which are usually generated by background seismic waves. So it gives the problem, poor penetration of electromagnetic waves, and so it limits it to kind of the outside structure without being able to penetrate. And then it describes the method based on the analysis of the micromovements. Again, specifically in the Khufu, the Great Pyramid. The attained results proved to be very promising, as high-resolution, full 3D tomographic imaging of the pyramid's interior and subsurface was achieved. The Khnum-Khufu becomes transparent when observed in the micromovement domain. Based on this novelty, we have completely reconstructed internal objects, observing and measuring structures that have never been discovered before. The experimental results are estimated by a processing series of SAR images from the second generation Italian Cosmo SkyMet satellite system, demonstrating the effectiveness of the proposed method. So essentially what's coming out is the whole point of the study was not to find stuff about the pyramid. It was to see if they could map out better the inside of the pyramid without actually digging. If there was a better way to kind of see that, what they could find from it. And then that's the abstract. So the conclusion, this is what they've drawn their full conclusion of after doing all the imaging and the analysis, and there was charts and graphs and formulas and all kinds of stuff. I will say none of the images in this report matched any of the ones on social media. So even that one that looked like it was legit, where it looked like a thermal picture kind of, showing the columns, that was not part of the study. And people that researched the images, not me, specifically state that it seemed to be AI. Like there was some signature AI thing on it that they could track down. And that's what they said the images came from. In conclusion, in this paper, we have shown how it is possible to use the SAR Doppler tomography in an advantageous, economical, non-invasive, and rapid way to make a valid contribution to the study of the structure of ancient megalithic monuments such as the Pyramid of Khnum-Khufu. We are aware that only by confirmation on the field of our findings can we validate our hypothesis, meaning the only way they can prove they're right is for somebody to dig and see if it actually shows what they say it shows. They're very clear on that point. They say technically their images could just be different types of minerals, the edges of something, different things like that, different cracks or fissures. The only way to confirm what they're hypothesizing is the internal structure is by going in there and seeing if it's real or not. However, it seemed logical to provide a hypothetical interpretation based on the data we collected that could serve as a starting point for future research. From our point of view, the results obtained on the Pyramid of Khnum-Khufu must be considered in their entirety, globally, not locally, thus taking into account the new structures found within it, the existence of which was previously unknown, and all of which are connected. We have also discovered and measured that the pyramids of the Giza Plateau present on all faces spatial indentations that tend to divide them in two with respect to the axes of central symmetry constituted by the vertices. So that's a lot of fancy math to saying, while most people believe that there's 4 sides to each pyramid, there's actually 8. And this is a known phenomenon, and that they were actually able to detect and measure that using this method. So that's fancy speak for all that. In this context, it seems clear that the multitude of structures, together with the octagonal feature of the Khnum-Khufu, octagonal meaning 8-sided, are to be seen as connected. Couple things I want to point out here. They are not mentioning any other pyramid besides the Great Pyramid. The other articles were talking about a different pyramid. This research paper is only talking about the Pyramid of Khufu. The numerous structures thus seem to belong to a gigantic resonator with the Z that, in our personal opinion, could function as a high order, probably 5th order, low pass acoustic filter due to its multi-layer and hence multi-stage characteristics. At the time of the construction of the pyramids, the Nile most probably reached the Giza plain, and the pyramids were probably flooded with water up to a couple of meters from their base. This explains why rowing boats were found without masts to support the sails. Once we have consolidated this article, we will need to provide an add-on explaining in detail the function of each chamber. So this is where they're going, okay, so we discovered these other chambers, but again, they're not talking about anything subterranean. It's all within the pyramid. Along with this, in some of the articles, there was cited other research talking about the Nile, and they had discovered that the Nile actually did flow along the pyramids at one point. They had discovered an ancient riverbed and all this kind of stuff. So that's what they're referring to there. And he believes the flooding of the Great Pyramid and the way it worked was part of the acoustical process. And what he's saying is later on, we need to provide detail the function of each chamber. If we're going to make this proposition that this was an acoustic chamber, an acoustic filter, we need to kind of explain how that would work, which is not part of the scope of this article. At this point, it may not be all wrong to assume that many of the structures inside the pyramid could have been purposely flooded several times a year and thus left with the liquid flowing inside. The excess water could then be expelled from the shafts, which then, thanks to the distortions on the faces, those estimated from the external results, acted as conveyors so that the water could be transported by gravity to the ground in an orderly manner. By looking at the estimated tomographs, we were able to realize that the inner areas could be reached safely from a precise point identified by the entrance corridor on the north side. From our point of view, it is possible to open a minimally invasive passageway, which is the way to the exploration of all the structures surveyed. This could be completed simply by drilling a passage from the main entrance. So they're giving a way to confirm what they found on the inside of the pyramids. If we want to confirm this, we think we could mathematically figure out if we drilled here, we could get to all these structures. In addition, the work carried out on the Khnum Khufu will certainly be extended to look inside other megalithic structures, even those belonging to other continents. At present, the research team is carrying out the same work as for Khnum Khufu, but extended to the Pyramid of the Khafre in order to have a more complete overview of the megalithic apparatus of Giza. We are confident that we will also provide Khufu's internal results in the near future. So this is the only mention of the other pyramid. And this was written in 2022. So is it possible research has been done? Yes. I could not find a trace of any primary original source for that information. Absolutely none. In conclusion, through these discoveries, we believe it is appropriate for the Egyptian authorities to begin a campaign of excavations and drilling in order to bring to light and give back to all humanity all the structures we estimated through the use of this proposed method. In the near future, we would like to extend the STAR methodology to the investigation of the internal structure of other important monuments in the Giza Plateau. So that is the end of their conclusion for the article. So trying to bring out those points, they were specifically talking about the internal structures within the pyramid. They didn't mention anything subterranean. And in this particular research paper, which is the only one I could find, they were specifically focusing on one pyramid, the Great Pyramid. And the Facebook posts were talking about a separate pyramid. They were talking about this huge, elaborate structure underneath. I could find absolutely nothing backing that up. So we basically have one of two options. That one author who put the initial article together really was just kind of reaching and kind of looked through the article, looked through the research paper and found some random things and just kind of put it all together. Or, for some reason, the information backing up the claim of the underground chambers for the other pyramid is unavailable. Which I'm not going to say that's not possible, because I think that is definitely feasible and definitely possible. But I could find absolutely nothing on it. I did find some random references, again, to the press conference. I found some random references to supposedly there was a meeting of people that was top secret, or at least had got no press coverage at all, talking about this, talking about the hidden chambers underneath and everything. And that's where this press conference was after this meeting. But I can only find vague references. I couldn't find any specifics of who was there, where it was, when it was, anything like that. So I found absolutely zero paper trail on that. So I think those are the conclusions that we can draw. It's either completely bunk off of this research paper, or any positive information is completely hidden from the internet, which doesn't seem as feasible to me, but you know, could be a possibility out there. So what do you guys think? Is this legit? I know I'm going to be just keeping an eye out for it. A lot of the stuff said keep an eye out for more information coming throughout the year. So I will definitely keep an eye out for it. And if I find anything, I will bring it up to you guys and let you know. So that's it. That's our show tonight, guys. What did you think? Any thoughts? How boring was it? You can let me know in the comments, either on the YouTube channel or one of the Facebook pages you're watching, or wherever you want to. I found it pretty interesting, but I am a nerd that way, which is why I do this. So any comments, questions from our live audience tonight? Got kind of quiet there. Griffith said, dang, now I want to find the on switch for those pyramids. Yeah, you know, I think it's a fascinating concept. I saw a documentary and read some articles about how like it was a fine-tuned acoustic machine, and they believe that the vibrations, the way they funneled upward to the top of the pyramid and into the golden cap, created an energy source, a la Tesla kind of thing. And that is how they powered everything. Absolutely fascinating. They've actually found the grooves and ridges on top of support beams that would essentially tune each one of the beams to a specific frequency. They found traces of chemicals within some of the shafts that would cause specific chemical reactions that would create, you know, specific gases that would vibrate a specific way. Whole big thing on it. So I thought it was absolutely fascinating. Don't know if it's true. To me, there's enough evidence and theory, valid science to kind of back it up as a plausible idea. I think it's a very interesting concept. Next week, guys, we're going to be doing another in the news. There was another big news announcement that came out just after this, or maybe before. The dire wolves back from extinction. So I'm going to go over that next week and see what we can find out about that. That was a little more information on it. I've already found some paperwork on it and stuff, so that's going to be a fun one. A little more into my realm of cryptozoology and stuff, the possible application for it. I know the big one that we're looking at is the resurgence of the thylacine. We already know there's at least one organization out there looking to bring back the thylacine, and this technology, if it exists as they say it does, could definitely facilitate that. So that's a pretty idea. And then that's the 8th, 10 p.m. The week after that, the 15th, is going to be a very special episode at a very special time. It's going to be Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the reason it's going to be at 6 p.m. is because we're going to have a very special guest from the UK joining me, and we're going to be discussing the case of Corey Godsey, something we've mentioned on this channel several times. We're going to give an update and kind of give an idea of where we are so far in the investigation. For those that don't know, Corey Godsey was a teen that was found on the side of the mountainside by his home, no longer with us. And some people out there believe it is the result of a dogman attack. And so we're going to, just like I did with the Cott County killings, we're going to get as much information as we can from the sources, and we're going to look at it. My guest, my good friend Pete Hasty, assisted me with the Cott County killings. His background is medical, and he is able to understand all that medical stuff that I don't have a full grasp on, and he can help explain a lot of the stuff. So pretty excited about that. We already have autopsy reports and everything. In fact, just before I went live here, I was doing FOIA requests and stuff with Kentucky State Police. Again, I've done this several times and never received a response. So I'm trying it again. This time I'm linking Pete into everything so he can see everything as well to confirm I'm doing it correctly, and see what kind of a response we get for the record. So some interesting information out there. So that's going to be May 18th. It's going to be a great show. Again, 6 p.m. And we'll start advertising for that ahead of time so more people can come on and join us for that one. You're not going to want to miss that. You definitely want to be there live so you can answer your questions. And I will say this, it's an ongoing process. The research is not done. So that show is going to be an update as to where we currently are. So there will be further shows on the Corey Gotze topic. If you want to know what we do as far as how to research these, you can go back to my first episode ever on this channel, on this show. I was a guest and we did the Cotton County killings. We did almost a 3-hour show. It was over 2 hours. And I did my full breakdown of the Cotton County killings in Cotton County, Tennessee, and what we discovered on that one and what my conclusions were on that one. So feel free to go check that out way back in the beginning of the show. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live. Thank you, everybody that is going to be listening later on once this hits all the platforms. Again, we have global listeners, so we always appreciate you guys as well. Feel free to drop me a line. Find me on Facebook, Justin Decker. Look for me on any of Grizzly's page, the Bigfoot Outlaws, any of those ones, you can find me on there. You can email me directly, tnsasquatch21@gmail.com. Feel free to ask me questions, give me topic ideas. I'm always looking for more topics that you guys want to know about, so send me some. All right, we are going to head out now to one of my favorite clips because it has all those fun bloopers at the end from Jason Kenzie, a friend of the show. All right, guys, as Grizzly would say, from coast to coast around the world, you all have a fantastic night. We'll see you next week.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No, we're gonna watch and listen.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
No.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, should we run?
Okay. It's a grizzly.
Are you sure it's not a chipmunk? Action. No, get out of here. Action.
It's a grizzly.
I'm out of here.
Huh. Maybe it is a chipmunk. It's a grizzly.
Are we gonna die?
I don't know. We're just gonna sit here and listen and watch.
Let's get out of here, maybe.
Fall!